Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Premier Perspective. Today we are here with our Premier League prediction. Very excited for this video. Ryan, it's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, I'm been really excited to this. I'm looking forward to recording it because Javi and I right now we don't know each other's we don't know any of each other's predictions of where we put anybody. So you want to get
Yeah,
into it? Yeah, let's just go ahead.
yeah, and also before we start, being that we started this channel in November, we weren't able to do this last year, so another reason to be super excited about this one. So yeah, I'm just gonna go first with who I have from 20 to 18.
Sure.
At 20, I don't know. I feel like this is the obvious 20. It may not be, but I have Norwich. I feel like they're not gonna do good. And then 19th, I have Brentford. I feel like they haven't had enough signings. And then for 18, who I think is like I don't know if this is like an outside choice or not, but I have Burnley.
Okay, that's an interesting one. I don't blame you for it. I have Burnley a little higher up on my
Okay.
list. Just because like some of the performances they put in last season were pretty convincing for me to put them a little higher this season. It's probably where I put them just about every season. But my 20 to
Mhm.
18, one of the teams is one you would guess. One is a maybe. The other one, you probably wouldn't. And it's a long shot. My 20th is actually Southampton,
Oh, wow.
which when I
Okay.
personally when I do my prem predictions, I try not to overthink it. I just put them in.
Mhm.
I think logically, but I don't overthink much more than that. I do what needs to be done, and I just leave it because I know I'm going to keep switching it if I keep messing
Mhm.
with it. So I have Southampton as my 20. They let Danny Ings go, um, and they really were poor
Mhm.
in that second half of the last season. 19th, I do have Norwich. On 18th, I have Palace. Palace have gotten lucky just about every season
Okay.
with winning some games. Wilfred Zaha is just tired of it. You can tell that one game that he just sat on the field at halftime, and I don't even blame him.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
I was
yeah.
Wilfred
I
Zaha,
mean, in
I'd
that
probably sit on the field at
situation.
halftime of that game too. And one of these days they're going to go down. They'll
Yeah.
probably come back up right after, but they are going to go down at some point. And this
Okay.
season, with so many other teams being strong, I put them at 18th.
All right. Very, very interesting. Now I'm gonna do my 17, 16, 15. At 17, I have Brighton. Brighton never convinced me, and the reason why is because I just feel like every time, yeah, they always play good, but they don't have the final product, and they don't bring that in. I just don't. I just think they're the most boring team in the league, and I say that not to like, you know, I'm not trying to be negative towards them. I just feel like they don't bring enough, and that's why they're like always constantly tying, stuff like that. At 16, I have Southampton. Um, Danny Ings is a huge loss. I don't really think their team is that good anyway. They've suffered some embarrassing defeats. So I have them at 16. And then at 15, I have Watford. I feel like they're the only team that's going to stay up. That's how I have it. And I don't know. I just don't really see them being high up like how Leeds were last year or how Sheffield were the year before that. But yeah, I think 15 is like a good mark for them.
Yeah, mine through 15 as well. I also happen to have Watford 15, but first
Oh wow.
17th, um, 17th. See twinsies there. I happen to have Villa,
Okay.
which is
At
probably an interesting
17.
one for some people at 17. I think they'll just
Oof.
stay up like they did that one season, but
Okay.
um, I I think they still have Emiliano Martinez, which is huge for
Hmm.
them, and they still have some good players. But I think personally that the loss of Jack Grealish will be too much for them.
Okay.
Um, and I don't know how much confidence I have with them going forward. 16th, I have Wolves. Wolves were really poor last season. For me, that was the most boring team in the league for me to watch, except besides Fulham.
Okay.
But out of the ones that are still here, Wolves were the most boring for me to watch. They had the
Yeah.
players to do it, and they didn't. They had their good moments. Maybe a
Yeah.
player scored a good goal here and there, but overall, not good. And Watford, I do have Watford 15th as
Hmm.
well as you. I think Watford will step. I think they'll pull off some
Hmm.
interesting results, but overall, Watford just how they usually are in the Prem, pretty average, and for the team they have, they do have some good players in that team, but Not enough to go higher, but I don't think they'll go down either.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. I get that with the Wolves. Like, I just feel like they're one of those teams that are just not that great. I feel like they had like people expected more from them last year. Obviously, they did lose Raul Jimenez and Diego Jota did leave, but I just don't expect much from them either. Now moving on, I'm gonna do 14 to 11, so we could stop right before we get to this top half of the table.
Mm-hmm.
At 14, I have Palace. Um, I think they, even though, like you said, like you don't think much of them, I feel like they do have some decent players. Eze's a good player. Zaha is gonna do as much as he can. I don't. He just never looks like he wants to be there, but he's still a good player. I don't have terrible expectations for them, but obviously, I feel like when you look at the Prem, like between like 12th and 17th, like are just all like at that same level that could be switched around. So for that, I have them at 14th. 13th, I have Newcastle. I just feel like
I have
again,
Newcastle 13th as well. Yeah.
okay, nice. That's two, right?
Uh-huh.
That's two that we have the same. I just don't like. There's just another team that's like they don't have bad players, but they never seem to be that great with each other. I just don't, like I said, I just don't have high expectations. 12, I have Wolves that we were talking about Wolves. I just don't think Wolves is that good of a team that to be in the top half of the table, especially looking at the rest of the teams that we have. And then to finish off the bottom half, I have Aston Villa. Um, I would want to say to have them. I know you have them at 17th. I would even want to put them a little bit further, but Jack Grealish is a huge loss. But I think they've done great with what, um, you know, recovering from that. They brought in Buendia this summer from Norwich, who's a great player who had a great year in the championship. They brought in Bailey from the Bundesliga, great signing, and they brought in Danny Ings, who's a known goal scorer in the Premier League. So for that reason, I have them at the top of the bottom half at 11th.
Yeah, Villa. That's definitely something to consider for them. 17th. I don't know. Something was just telling me about that. And
Yeah,
like I said before, I didn't
sometimes,
really think about it.
yeah. Sometimes you just have
You just
those
gotta leave it.
feelings. Yeah.
But for my 14th, I have Burnley in my 14th spot. Burnley pulled off some really interesting results. I believe were they the team to break Liverpool's home streak? I believe they were.
Watford.
Burnley.
Oh, Burnley.
Were the team to break.
No, I think it was Watford, wasn't it?
It was,
Remember that time
that
that they beat them 2-0?
It was in the Prem.
Wasn't that the one? Oh, okay. Nah.
I think it was Burnley. I could be wrong. But
yeah. No, actually, No, I was thinking of Watford was a team to make Liverpool not go undefeated the year that they won the Prem. That's what I was thinking about. But no, I'm pretty sure it was Burnley who was the team. Yeah.
Yeah, to break Liverpool's big home winning streak, or unbeaten. But Burnley, like I said, some good results. Not enough to really go too much higher in the table, in my opinion. But I don't think they'll go much lower than that because they're while they don't necessarily have the names, they really have a fighting team. Well, they do have Nick Pope, who's a very good keeper. But other than that, Burnley are always that team that just fight it out. And I love to watch them play in the games that they do that because they're really exciting. My 13th spot, I have Newcastle as well. I think Newcastle do have very good players at times when they want to be, but sometimes they just can't turn it on, especially against the big teams. Against the smaller teams, they tend to. And then against like some of the smaller, or not necessarily smaller, but like the 7 to 11 area teams, they're able to play really well against them, putting good performances. So I have them 13th. And my 12th, you probably won't agree with this one, but I have Brighton in my 12th.
Okay.
Reason being, Brighton, while they did lose Ben White, I thought Lewis Dunk was crazy from last season.
Oh yeah, Dunk is a great defender.
Brighton have good players, but they were extremely unclinical in terms of their finishing. They had 14 draws in their season. And I think and that's why I put them in 12th, because say you take 7 of those draws from that from the season. I don't know what position that puts them in, but that gives them an additional 14 points.
I was gonna say,
if you even take half of those draws and turn them into wins, which they easily could have been, because a lot of them were let go in the last couple minutes of the game, where they could have been played well in different parts of the game.
Yeah,
They finished higher in the table.
14 extra points would have brought Brighton from 16th to 12th.
And that's what I'm saying. So, that's what I'm saying. Absolutely huge for them. So, that's what I have Brighton as, and I'd like to see them play better this season. My 11th, I do have Brentford. I have Brentford in my 11th.
Okay.
Every season, I tend to be an optimist with
at least one,
with at least one of the teams. And this year, Brentford's that team for me with Tony up top. They don't really have the names there, but with those championship teams that come in the Prem that came out fighting in the championship and in the other domestic cups like the FA Cup, EFL Cup, they always fight it out in the Prem, and they give the big teams a challenge, especially the forwards like Tony, who's a complete goal scorer and creator in the championship as well. So I'm really excited to see him play. So Brentford is my 11, and that's it for my bottom 10.
All right, so now we're going to move on to 10, 9, and 8, which are the clubs that are in the top half of the table but don't qualify for any European football. At 10th, I have Leeds United. I think Leeds was a great team last year, but I still feel like they lack that piece that brings them to another level. So that's why I have them at 10th. Now, this might be bold, but I have Arsenal at 9th. I just don't have high expectations for them. I just look at that team. I still feel like they're missing a lot of pieces. Like there are a couple pieces away from doing really good, but I still feel like they're missing a lot. So for that reason, I have Arsenal at 9th. And then at 8th, I have Everton. I think Everton have a good team. The only thing with Everton, I feel like they're also just missing like that creative player to bring them to the edge, because they have great players. They have, having someone up top like Richarlison and having a Dominic Calvert-Lewin, like those are great players to have. But I feel like if they had like that super creative number 10 that brought the most out of everyone, then that would be like the final puzzle piece. But yeah, I have Everton at 8 there.
Yeah, I think that's a good look. I have Everton a little higher than that. I'll get to that later. But in my 10th spot, I do have Leeds as well. For the exact reason that you said, they're a good team, but they just lack that extra that pushes them that little bit forward. Patrick Bamford, I'm not exactly sure how he scored so many goals last season, because he's a good striker, but his technical ability isn't like crazy, and he's not rapid or anything. He just kind of a right place, right time kind of guy. And not denying that he's a good player, but I'm just not sure if he can keep that up for another season. Rodrigo, I'd like to see him play a lot more for Leeds. He didn't play a lot, especially after that big transfer from Valencia, which surprised me to the Prem. But Leeds, they do have Calvin Phillips in the defensive midfield, and they did have a decently strong defense. I'd like to see Melia get some more game time in goal, but other than that, Leeds just lack that extra piece. 9th, this is probably my most controversial one. I have Spurs in 9th.
Okay.
And I have a feeling you have Spurs probably in your 7th spot.
I do actually have Tottenham at my 7th spot.
Yeah. So our 7 to 10 are the same teams, just mixed around. But I have Spurs so far down because I'll just say now I have Everton in 7th. I'll get to the explanation later, but I have Spurs in 9th. Because out of all the other teams, I needed teams to put up top. There are teams that are going to finish up top inevitably. And there are teams that are going to finish in that 5, 6, 7 area. And I just didn't think Spurs was going to be it this year. Harry Kane doesn't want to be there. And I feel like he's going to play as such because they basically forced him back in there. And even if, even Harry Kane was, as happy as he could be at Spurs, got anything he wanted, and he could link with Son exactly how they did last season, with the same kind of ability, teams are going to figure that out like they did, just as I predicted they would in the second half of the season, and they finished pretty poorly for their standard. So I think even if everything's going well and tactically they're playing well, teams are going to figure them out because there's only so much more they can do with the players that they have, because they've had a pretty stable, constant team for quite a while. In my 8th spot, you did 8th as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, my eighth spot is Arsenal.
Okay.
I think Arsenal are definitely in a rebuild. Not just I think they are in a rebuild. They are just completing the signing of Ben White. We did that in the Arsenal video. So whatever the Arsenal video season preview is released, you'll see all the talk about Arsenal with Nigel and Nico. But Arsenal this season, they're handing it over to the younger guys, Bukayo Saka and Smith Rowe. They'll be able to step up this season. Some of the older players like Bellerin will probably see them go out.
Yeah.
And especially Ben White at defense, it's going to be extremely solid to have him and Gabriel there. So overall, Arsenal, I think they're going to perform a little better this season, even though I forget exactly where they finished last season. I think it was a little higher, and it might have been
Arsenal. I think ended up finishing 7th.
Did they? Yeah. I think the points will all be close within this part of the table next season. But Arsenal, in my opinion, are going to finish here. I think they'll make
Arsenal finished
a good
8th.
Push. Did they? Okay, so
yeah,
I think Arsenal will make a good push for things, but they are in a rebuild. It's okay to see them fail a little bit. In the coming seasons, we'll see them perform a little better. But that's my 10-9-8.
Yeah, and you talked about how you have your 7th as Everton, and I have my 7th as Tottenham, and we had the 7th through 9th, actually 7 through 10, all the same, but just mixed around.
Yeah.
For me with Tottenham, why I have them getting the edge over Everton and Arsenal is the fact that I think Harry Kane is going to stay. And if he does stay, he's going to demand that big contract and he's going to sign long-term. So I think long-term, Kane settling his future at Tottenham and deciding that's where he's going to be, that's going to push him to get to that next level. I think Son's a great player. I thought the signing of Romero for them at center back was great. So that's why I don't think they're going to be that good, but I do think they're going to be just a little bit better than Everton and Arsenal.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. Are we just doing 7 for now?
Yeah. Just talk about your Everton.
My 7th is Everton. I think Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin will play really well this season. I think his name is just escaping me. Central midfielder
for Everton.
Yeah, not Allen.
I was going to say Allen. Doucouré.
Doucouré. Yes. Yeah. I think Doucouré is an awesome player. I love watching him play.
I think
he's such a good
player. That's what I'm saying.
Everton.
I like watching Everton. I think they have a good team. It's just the gelling. Like I said, I think they need that number 10, and then that pushes them above Tottenham and Arsenal, and even you can even say West Ham.
Yeah, they do. And but this season, I think Lucas Digne if they play him as a left winger, even as a left wing back, if Everton play wing backs this season, I think that's going to be extremely powerful for them. In the same way, Germany and Atlanta play Gosens at wing back, just like that. And Digne is such an incredible player.
I think Digne is great. Yes.
Yeah, he's awesome. And just overall, Jordan Pickford coming in second in the Euro. Pickford had a shaky Euro at times, but I've always backed Pickford.
Yeah, overall. I think he's a solid keeper.
I think he's a solid keeper. I think Everton, so that's why I have them 7th, just a little edge above Arsenal and Spurs.
So now we have 6th and 5th, which are the Europa League spots. I have West Ham at 6th and Leicester at 5th.
I have the same.
So why I have Leicester over West Ham, I think it's just that they're been more complete. I look at this Leicester team, and I think they're great. It's just the only issue that I have is that I think that the 4 teams above them are just better. I think Leicester's a really good team with a good system, with a great manager. It's just talent-wise, if you look at the top 4 just beats them. So that's why I have Leicester at 5th. I think they're better than West Ham. West Ham, it might be a little optimistic to even put them at 6th because,
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Maybe the season high that they had last year doesn't transfer over, but I still think that they're a good team with a good squad. Obviously, they had that extra push when Jesse Lingard came, and now he's going to be staying at United. So it'll be interesting to see if losing him really makes a big loss, but they were already really good before he even came in on loan. So I still think West Ham has a good squad that will compete. So for that reason, I have them at 6th. And then, like I said, Leicester for 5th.
Yeah, and I have the same, just for similar reasons. I think the Lingard going back to United from his loan at West Ham will be a considerable loss for West Ham, considering that huge push that they gave him. But Mikel Antonio, I've always backed him as a player. He's so versatile, and he's an incredible player for them. So I think he'll be a backbone of this team as they go forward because he can play anywhere on the field. He can score goals. He can defend. He can do whatever West Ham need him to do.
Mhm.
And Declan Rice will definitely be staying. They said specifically that their 100 mil players will more than likely be staying at the club because they just demand that crazy price. The Grealish, the same deal as Grealish from Aston Villa to City, but Declan Rice will be staying, who had an awesome Euro with England.
Yeah, I look at
Just
that
overall,
like him and Souček, and then
yeah, Souček is a
Souček is a
solid
great player.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think there's a lot of hope for West Ham. So even though I might be optimistic to put them at 6, I'm gonna leave them at 6. Now the top 4, which could be really mixed. I feel like mine's gonna be a lot different than yours, but then again, maybe we have the same mind.
I don't know.
I'm gonna say my 4th right now.
Yeah.
And then you could just say it right after. At
Sure.
4th, I have Man United.
I have Liverpool at 4th.
Okay. And then at 3rd, I have Liverpool.
I have United at 3rd.
Okay.
So
then at 2nd, I have Chelsea.
I have City at 2nd.
And then at
bro.
1st, I have City.
Yeah, so I have Chelsea winning the league, unfortunately.
So basically we can start now at 4th. Or we just talk about it as a whole.
Yeah.
I really like City. Not even just obviously because I'm a City fan. I just look at that team that they have and comparing it to the other teams in the Prem. Obviously, Chelsea did have that edge over them in the Champions League. But when we're looking at a full 38-game season with the depth that City have now, adding Grealish, the possibility of adding Kane, but I'm not even going to consider that. I think even without Kane. But yeah, I have City being first with Chelsea at a very close second because I think Chelsea has a great squad with a great system. Now adding Lukaku to that. So yeah, that's the reason why. I just think City still does have that slight edge. But then again, if Chelsea were to end up winning the Premier League title, I wouldn't be shocked.
I think my City and Chelsea, if I had to label points, it would be a very close second.
Yeah.
But for me, I think I gave Chelsea a little edge over City just because they got an out-and-out striker. They got Romelu Lukaku, and they have the players to back them up. Jorginho, who just won both the UCL with Chelsea and the Euros. Reece James, I think Reece James is going to have a crazy season. I think Ben Chilwell will be able to play a little better this season. I think Thiago Silva will be a huge backbone for that defense. Mendy is one of the most clutch keepers in the Prem right now. Just overall, Chelsea have such a complete team. And that's why I gave them, and not that City don't, but City just don't have that goal scorer that's going to give them the extra. Grealish is a crazy playmaker, but he's just not that goal scorer. He's not the Kane or the Haaland earlier in the transfer window that we were talking about. But for City, like you said, to play a 38-game season, Prem season, and then play a Champions League, EFL Cup, FA Cup, and to win the Prem, to win the EFL Cup, to make it to the final in the Champions League, and to play as many games in the FA Cup as they did with the squad depth that you have, it's just crazy. And this season they'll be more experienced with that, even more depth with more with more players from the U23 team coming in. I'd love to see that from City, but they just don't have that edge over Chelsea for me. For my 3 and 4 though, Jadon Sancho for United was one of the main reasons I put them at 3rd. Also Dean Henderson. I think Dean Henderson's going to have a good season. Harry Maguire coming off that Euro. As much as we all clown him, he's a great defender. And Liverpool, the 4th, I just don't know if they'll be able to pick up from where they did last season. Yeah, even though they came in to finish 3rd, I believe, they just didn't have it. They just didn't have the thing.
And that's the reason why I have them at 3rd. And I could even see them, at least for my table, even going 2nd over Chelsea, is because they were able to finish 3rd while not having momentum and not having a healthy squad the entire year.
That's fair to say. I will give you that.
Like, you look at how good that Liverpool team was beforehand, winning that Prem after all the years, winning that Champions League, and now you have that team coming back together. You're going to have a healthy squad, and I think that's what I'm saying. This is if Liverpool stays healthy. I just look at this team, and I feel like Liverpool is so complete. And now, like, no injuries. You're going to have Fabinho and Henderson be able to play that holding mid, giving Thiago that freedom going forward. You still have that same 3 with Diogo Jota coming off the bench. Like, I think it's just a great team. Yeah, so obviously, I even though 1 through 4, I think like it could get flipped for all I know. Like I think
Yeah,
any of those teams
totally.
could
Any
end
of
up
those four
winning.
teams.
But the reason that's what I'm saying. I think Liverpool has that good team. And that's the only reason why I have United at fourth. I think United did everything that they needed to do. They needed a center back partner for Maguire and brought Varane. They needed another attacker and brought in Jadon Sancho. They put the pieces together that they needed, and that's what I'm saying. It's nothing against United. I just will be interested to see, you know, how the rest of this season ends up going. But I have a lot of hope for this Premier League season. Once again, that's why we want to say always want to say thank you. We For anyone who hasn't seen it already, we have a couple Premier League predictions out. We're gonna have more coming out afterwards. We have a video on Messi and his transfer to PSG, so make sure to check that out. So yeah, once again, we want to say thank you to anyone showing support, and we'll see you soon.